Okay, welcome to the first part of a video series of me walking through this digital maker thingamajig, and I will first show you what you should have by the end of it, and it should be something like this. So there's a little taste of what's to come. Okay, so let's get started. I'm assuming at this point you have installed Python and Pygame, and that you have some text editor. It might be idle, for example, which is the one that looks like this. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to use VS Code, but anything will do. And I'm assuming at this point you also know how to run the programs. Hopefully I should have made another video explaining that, but I haven't at this point, so hopefully I will in the future. Okay, so we're going to start off by creating a new file in our editor, and first we need to call it something. So I'm going to call it bouncyballs.py. The .py extension just tells the computer that this is a Python file. Okay, so first we're going to import some things. These are basically pieces of code that other people have written that we're too lazy to write, so we're going to use them. So we're going to import Pygame, and then you can just kind of consider this bit as being magic. We're going to say from pygame.locals import all. That's what this asterisk means. It means import all, and then we're going to import sys. So these are just modules, bits of code that other people have written. You don't need to worry too much about that. And then we need to initialize Pygame. So we say pygame.init. And now we want to create a window for our program to run in. So most of you, I imagine, will be looking at a 1920 by 1080 p monitor. That's the number of pixels across and down. So I'm going to create a window of 1000 by 1000. So we're going to say window size equals 1000 by 1000. So what I've done here is created a variable called window size, and you can kind of consider a variable to be like a box that you store some value in, and that value can be of various different data types. Really what's happening is, under the hood, it's actually a reference to an address in the computer's memory, but you can just consider it as the value itself. So window size is a box you can think of that contains the pair of numbers 1000 and 1000. And in Python, this syntax where you have two numbers in just normal brackets separated by a comma, this is called a tuple. And yeah, you don't need to know too much about that for this to work. And then this bit again, we're just going to kind of think of this as magic. We're going to do pygame.display.setMode window size. So this creates a way for us to refer to our window. So that this creates the display of size, window size, and then we assign it to the variable display so that we have a nice way of referring to it. And now we're going to set up our kind of painting loop, I guess you can say. So the way graphics programs work is that every frame, they will draw the frame and then they will display it to the screen. And the frame rate is how often this happens, usually per second. So if you have 60 FPS, that means that your monitor is displaying 60 pictures, 60 images on your monitor per second. And so we need a loop to do this. So we're going to create a while loop. And in Python, a while loop means at the top it tests some condition, and if that condition is true, then it will enter the loop, and it tests that every time it loops. So we're going to create a what's called a Boolean variable. Boolean just means it's either true or false. So we're going to say running equals true, because we want the thing to be running at the outset, obviously. So we're going to say while running, and then we do a colon. And then, so we want to do some stuff to draw onto the screen. Oops. That's just a comment in Python if you do that hash mark. So we're going to say display.fill 2020. I'll explain what that is in a second. And then Pygame.display.flip. So what's happening here is we're filling the entire screen with a single color, and that's our background. So how do we specify what color we want? Well, we say how much red we want, how much blue we want, how much red we want, how much green we want, and how much blue we want. Because in your computer monitor, there are a bunch of different pixels arranged in a grid. And each pixel you can think of as being 3 tiny lights. One light is red, one light is green, and one light is blue. And they're all very close to each other. And the mixture of red, green, and blue light creates all of the different colors that you can see on your computer screen. And the brightness of each red, green, and blue light is a value that's between 0 and 255. And so we are going to set ours to be 20, which is pretty close to black, because black would be 0, 0, 0, right? They're all off. So this is going to be like a dark grey, 20. And then Pygame.display.flip, that displays the painted frame to the monitor. So if you think of a flip book, this is why it's called flip. Because if you have a book where you've drawn lots of images to animate them, and you flip through the flip book, it will look like it's moving. That's what we're doing here. And okay, so that's our kind of basic boilerplate code. And then in the next video, we will create something, a basic bounce. And let's just we have so far by running it. So, oh, what was that? Oh yes, I've made a mistake. So we need to put this inside another tuple, because the display.fill method, this is called a method, accepts one argument, and that is the color. So before we were actually giving it 3 arguments, 20, 20, and 20, but it doesn't know what that means. We wanted just to give it the color, so we have to put brackets around this. So now we should get a nice window like this. And yeah, so that's it for our basic boilerplate code. You'll notice we can't actually close the window, which is problematic maybe, but we'll fix that in the next video. By the way, for now you can close the window if you press go into the Python command line, the idle, and press Control-C or Command-C, probably on a Mac. That will kill it. So yeah,